Hello and welcome to Might Be Awesome. My name is Sam Basher.
And I'm DJ Boulder.
And today we're talking about Terminator Dark Fate. Yep, this is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th.
Oh, it is the
Terminator.
6th.
How to count it.
So real quick, before we dive into it, let's rank the titles of Terminator movies.
Okay, so
we got Terminator.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I think it's The Terminator.
The Terminator.
And then The Terminator 2.
Or T2 : Judgment Day.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
or Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
There you
Yeah. That was back in the day when we wanted to give people options. It's like a choose your own adventure.
Then T3 Judgment. No. T3 Rise of the Machines.
Sure.
Terminator. What is happening? Why
Salvation.
Yeah,
Terminator Salvation.
Then
Genesis, which is definitely the least. Yeah. That's the bottom of the barrel.
And then we have Terminator Dark Fate.
Which is fine.
Which
it's
has
completely inoffensive.
Which it feels like for the name wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels.
It's just
personally, it's my least favorite name because Genesis. It's ranked the same as the name Skynet. It's like early '90s tech stuff. It basically means nothing.
And maybe this is just me projecting my tastes on it. I gotta go with T2 Judgment Day.
I go T2, T1, and I'd say Dark Fate, and then right after that, Salvation. I think Salvation gets a bad rap because of bad trailers.
Yeah, I think Salvation name-wise better than Dark Fate. But
and you got Christian Bale.
Yeah, but again, I'm not judging the movie. I'm
Cool
just the name. Anyway, we're talking about the sixth one, Dark Fate.
Oh yeah, Dark Fate, directed by Tim Miller, director of Deadpool, if you're familiar,
yes.
And it was from the writers David S. Goyer, Justin Rhodes, and Bill Ray. And this stars Mackenzie Davis, Linda Hamilton, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Gabriel Luna, and Natalia Reyes.
So basically, Christopher Nolan was like, hey, I need a Batman expert to call up and phone a friend for my Batman movie. And he called up David S. Goyer, who gave him Batman Insight. And David S. Goyer has been going to lunch on that for like over a decade now.
Oh, for sure. Here's a quickie synopsis. Sarah Connor and a hybrid cyborg human must protect a young girl from a newly modified liquid Terminator from the future.
Newly modified.
There it goes. You always have to have a new Terminator for each movie.
I don't know that you do, though.
You do. You
okay.
gotta.
But I mean, we do. I mean, that's how people play the game. I just feel like diminishing returns ever since T2.
What have we had so far? T3 had girl that was kind of hard shell Terminator with a soft outside.
Yeah.
But not so much the same as the one in Dark Fate. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Then in Salvation, we had Sam Worthington, who was a human that thought he was a robot that thought he was a human or whatever.
Yeah, he was a robot. Yeah.
And then in Genesis, you had John Connor turned into a Terminator because nanites in his blood.
Yeah.
There you go. Skynet was a person played by Doctor Who, and I'm doing a great job here.
Yeah,
then in this, we've got 2 Terminators for the price of 1 Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Cool. Actually,
because basically it's the T1000 is hitching a ride on a T800.
Yeah.
It's all one Terminator, but then the goopy stuff gets to go off, and then you have to fight 2 Terminators, and apparently each are completely unkillable.
Yep.
Each are the equal amount of unkillable, even though the thing that makes them up is different.
I kind of like the pitch for that. It's like, for some reason, the goopy one can't turn into a million tiny little Terminators. This is like the...
which would basically be unstoppable.
Yeah, would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or 1 horse-sized duck?
Yeah.
You could have that kind of thing where it's just like...
With this Terminator.
But hey, that's okay.
So, going into this movie, Sam, what was your thoughts on the Terminator franchise, and what were your thoughts going into this movie?
I was so tired. And I actually thought the trailers were pretty cool, and I like Gabriel Luna from his work as Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes.
I like he's got a good, the Ghost Rider has a Terminator vibe to him, where he's kind of like this unstoppable force. Once it walks into a room, you're like, I don't know if you don't. Yeah. Well, you knock him out. Like there's nothing you can do once that enters the room, and that's how you should feel when a Terminator shows up. Also, getting Linda Hamilton back is exciting.
Yes.
And it kind of meant nothing when they said Arnold Schwarzenegger's coming back. It's like, yeah, well, what else is he doing? What else is he doing right now? And also, I'm a big fan of Mackenzie Davis. I thought she did a really good job on San Junipero, the episode of Black Mirror, and also Black Mirror, Terminator. There's some parallels there.
Yeah, she was in Blade Runner 2049
and
briefly.
She was really good.
Yeah.
And she played a more action-oriented role. In San Junipero, she's a very soft character that you unwrap and you find out more layers to her. And now I've seen she's very versatile, and so I was excited to see her as a Terminator-like character in this film, and I thought she did a really good job. And so going into the movie, like I was just slightly hopeful because also there was a press screening right before us, and there was some reviews coming out. They're like, "This is the best thing since T2," and it's like, yeah, but James Cameron,
low bar. That's like a crazy low bar.
James Cameron always signs off on all these movies as being like, "This is the one, gang." So it means nothing. Like, and so going into it, I was just very like middle of the road. As long as it gives me good action, I think it's going to get lost in the weeds when it comes to sci-fi stuff, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
I just want some cool action, and it fully delivered on that.
Yes.
What about you?
So yeah, also tired. Like, just the Terminator 2 effectively ended the franchise. Like, it closed the loop. You're done. And then now they keep trying to milk it with diminishing returns. The trailers were interesting, and I will say I was pleasantly surprised to sound like this is 100% what Jurassic World is to the Jurassic Park franchise. This movie is to the Terminator franchise, beyond just because we kind of knew that in the like, hey, forget all the crappy sequels, this is the real one. That, but also like just the way, to the point where it has a character do a goofy bit with a fly to show how cool they are. That's how close this movie is to the tone and the mission statement of Jurassic World. It's like, hey, you remember that stone cold classic movie that is iconic and beloved, and there are a ton of crappy sequels? Well, forget the crappy sequels. This is the real sequel. Is it going to stand up to that iconic major movie? Not even close. Not even remotely comparable to that. But it's going to be better than the crappy sequels.
Yeah.
And so you're going to come out being like, hey, that wasn't too bad.
If you try to kick it, knock it down, it'll stay up.
Yeah.
It'll stay strong.
So
it's sturdy.
Yeah, there's some fun action beats. There's some like the CG in it, which there's a lot, is kind of hit or miss. And it's fun getting the actors back. It does, I think, what this has above all the other sequels is it understands that, Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800 is the like iconic image. And he does a great job in the role because that was especially in Arnold Schwarzenegger Prime. If you go back to watch a lot of the movies he's doing in the 80s, he's just knocking them out of the park. Running Man, Predator, all of that. Total Recall. But he is not the protagonist of the franchise. Sarah Connor is the protagonist of the franchise, and so by reintegrating her specifically as with Linda Hamilton, it recenters the series in a way that immediately, just that alone, makes it stand above the other not great sequels.
Yeah, and this movie does have to dive into more. It's a cornerstone of the Terminator franchise. You got your time travel, and you've got other gobbledygook attached to that, and it can get kind of bogged down by that. I think this movie does an okay job streamlining it. I think the biggest offender is like Genesis, where it's just like they time travel. They're like, wait, why make one good movie when we could go to all the movies that you like and just kind of mess them up? So in this one, it's very self-contained for the most part when it comes to other sci-fi things. It is like a soft reboot in some senses when it comes to the story of why we have our new protagonists. Yeah. But for Linda Hamilton, Danny. I think Danny and Grace's story is interesting enough. It's not as compelling as the original like Terminator franchise, but there is something about it that has been reinvigorated for more modern movies that I can't really get into without being spoilers, and I'll leave a few things for you to discover when you go and see it in the theaters.
I will say they set up two major reveals that should be obvious to everyone. The second they're like, what could this be? Oh, it's this. They just, if you've seen a trailer, like where this is going. And I think that's to the detriment of the movie that there's not, exactly where this movie is going to go, to the point of the things because movies like this are built around recreating iconic images from previous movies. You'll know what they're going to reference and when they're going to reference it and why they're going to reference it. So there is a sense of predictability to the proceedings.
Also, they do explain it to you quite a lot. Even when they're revealing it to you, someone in the movie will go, "Wait a minute,
you mean?
Wait, you couldn't possibly mean?" Yeah, they said it.
Yeah, they just said, "Yeah,
we actually showed it to us.
We're all here for it."
Yeah,
but how did you like the? Is wall-to-wall action. It doesn't. It
barely breathes. Yeah. It really books. And I think a lot of the mechanics when it comes to how the Terminators function from the Gabriel Luna model, and that has its own name. And when you learn about that, that's pretty fun. Where it's basically two Terminators put together. I think his entire performance as both of them. I'm going to guess he maybe does mocap for both of them. I think he does an amazing job. He's very imposing the way that the T-1000 was, where it's kind of like he's a skinny guy, but you'd be terrified if he walked in the room and Gabriel Luna, immediately the look on his face is very just, it's just driven.
Yeah.
You can see it behind his eyes where you're not saying like his face is unmoving, his eyes are stone cold, and you can understand like what his whole thing is about. But also when it comes to Grace, Mackenzie Davis, there's this like sense of urgency whenever she's in an action scene where she is just trying to play keep away with the Terminator, and she can keep up with it. She can deal out some damage, but I like that there are repercussions when it comes to that. The mechanics that they do introduce in the movie, for the most part, make sense and they work for what they're doing. And I genuinely dug that, like from the get-go, it's action. The first two Terminators, they time travel, naked person in the middle of something in near bar, beats up some bikers or
I will say
gangbangers or something.
This version of the future needs to work on its where it sends people back, because they both had the same issue of like
a little too tall,
a little too high.
Yeah, is there a building there? You should have put it on the ground. Or maybe they were scared that maybe there's a mountain there before, and then you get teleported into a mountain.
Listen, at 30 years in the future, we don't know where the mountains are.
Do it over the ocean.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Aim for something. And also some of the mechanics when people time travel, I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty fun. Like,
and then there are like you mentioned, there are the moments where like it's flash TV explanations of time waves. And, let's just move on from this. Huh?
I actually really dug. There was one thing that I always wondered, because so like we set up the rules of time travel in the Terminator franchise that it's just like the person or the entity. There's not like you don't get to bring clothes.
Yeah, that's why
snacks.
it has to be organic. So they hide. That's why we hired Arnold Schwarzenegger for this, because there's supposed to be a skin suit over there.
There you go. That doesn't quite make sense.
No, it does not. Luna. Oh, also,
or the T-1000.
Well, but then because it's able to fake it. Also, Mackenzie Davis's deal, like, I guess it's a spoiler. Her deal, if you think about it, doesn't quite make sense.
Nope.
Yeah,
well, I mean, it makes as much sense as
anything else.
Yeah. So we just accept that, and I gotta move on. Or maybe there are new rules now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of new stuff happening in the future that you'll be surprised of. Also, if you guys were excited about John Connor, you just let me know what you think about that in the comments down below. I actually kind of dug like overall what they were doing with the story. I found it kind of interesting. And setting up a new franchise? Question mark. I feel like I could see a sequel like coming out of this one.
Yeah, they definitely set up stuff that like, hey, this was a remake of Terminator 1. There's definitely seeds laid to do a remake of Terminator 2.
And you can get Arnold back for that one too.
Maybe.
CG is getting better because there are some moments where the CG looks really cool.
Yes.
And then there's some moments where it looks like a YA movie from like 2008. So it's like it's all over the map, but overall, I actually really enjoyed this movie. It is, like you said, it's the Jurassic World to the Jurassic Park for the Terminator franchise, and I enjoyed Jurassic World enough. Is that movie filled with some dumb stuff?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's a great way to describe the feeling going out of movies like this. I enjoyed it enough.
Yeah. I'm like, I don't know if I'd own it, but like if it was on, I wouldn't turn it off.
I'd watch a couple, especially if it was close to one of the scenes I'd watch. I would stick around to watch that scene.
And it books. It really books. I don't think it wasted any time between action scenes. It does have pretty big set pieces when it does do action that are dynamic, and it's something that you haven't really seen before when it comes to a Terminator movie. So I enjoyed that.
Yeah, they definitely do stuff different than the previous films.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. So when it comes to ratings, I'd probably give this like a solid B-. It's like right in an 80 out of 100. That's what I'm thinking. It's like it's not like a C. There are some dumb stuff where like Mackenzie Davis's character, we learn this from the future, and you can learn her whole deal once you get into the movie. We can just say that she's the hybrid that you learn about. And so a lot of the time in the movie, there's some dumb dialogue where it's like, are you an assassin with hyper enhanced organs from the future? Didn't think so. Pipe down, Buttercup. And it's like, okay.
Also you get that was the moment I was terminated.
Yeah. And also people cheered when someone said I'll be back.
Oh, and that was awful.
Yeah,
the way it was executed, and then they call it back again later in the movie.
I did like the callback. I like the callback. It was great.
I will say, you know what? I'll give it a B- as well, just because Arnold Schwarzenegger is actually really funny in it. This trend of trying to get it was seeded a little bit in T2, but this idea of using the Terminator's just relentless seriousness for comic relief is great.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of that. And this continues the trend of like, hey, let's make a B-level kind of genre movie, but let's like cast hell out of it. Like, let's just get people that are way overqualified for this. So I would give it a B- as well.
Yeah, right. It's kind of like a C+.
Yeah.
But I feel like I enjoyed it enough for it to get a B-. Also, if Gabriel Luna came back and played the Terminator again, I wouldn't mind that. I like the mechanics of it. There are plenty of questions left. Not the good kind of questions. More like, why?
Why?
But I want to hear from you guys. Let us know in the comments down below. Right now, Rotten Tomatoes does not have a consensus. That's why we're not reading it. We're able to see this ahead of time thanks to our friends over at Paramount. Appreciate for the invite. And also, we'll be doing more reviews very soon, so make sure you're subscribed right here. But don't miss out at patreon.com/onlystupidanswers. That's the place where we do Super TV Showdown. It's the show where we watch all the superhero shows that the CW has to offer, including HBO's Watchmen. That's not CW. That won't be on Crisis on Infinite Earths, but don't worry. We're leading up to the big crossover. It would be weird and kind of boring, maybe, or cool. Or cool. That could happen. But anyways, don't miss out. As low as $5 a month. You can check that out. And make sure you check out all of our other content. Until next time, guys, we'll see you then.
Bye-bye.